The National Monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan will recognize the commitment and sacrifice of Canadians who served in Afghanistan and the support provided to them at home, and will be a permanent place for Canadians to reflect on their service. The monument will ensure that future generations have the opportunity to learn more about the mission and Canada's efforts in helping to rebuild Afghanistan. We all appreciate and respect the work done by jury members in evaluating the design concepts, their professionalism, and their personal experience. The process to reach this stage of the project was lengthy and included jury deliberations on several design concepts, as well as public opinion research that generated over 10,000 responses, including from Canadian Forces and mission veterans and their families. All of those things factored into the decision ultimately arrived at by Veterans Affairs Canada. The Team Stimson design was the one that veterans of the mission and their families felt best represented the bravery, sacrifices, and losses of those who served there. The results of the consultation, which are public, are clear, and Mr. Chair, it is our responsibility, as it was the minister's responsibility, to listen to veterans. And that is at the heart of where we should be focused. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Casey. So now there's no more, and Mr. Sarai, yes, please.
I think we've studied this this topic, the design selection process. We've had the ministry here. We've had the Minister of Heritage here. We've had department officials here. And I just want to remind things. We've had veterans that have come before. I've not heard any veteran either coming to my office or calling or in this committee in this study or others that have said that the selection that the government has finally made with regards to this Team Stimson design has been incorrect. We've heard process problems that, especially from the artistic community, that has been there, but we have not heard from others in regards to that, from the actual people we're trying to see, people who have served. I have not heard anything of significance from that or any uproar. I was spent 3 days, I think, in a Veterans Summit, which my colleague Mr. Desolé as well attended, of stakeholders of veterans in Montreal. And again, people wanted the monument to move forward, but I did not hear of objection to the design selected or design otherwise. So therefore, I think the amendment that my colleague has proposed is very valid, and we should move forward with that.
Merci, Monsieur Sarai. Et maintenant,
thank you, Mr. Sarai, and I'll give the floor to Mr. Desilets. Over to you. Well, listen, I understand that the Liberals don't intend to vote today. Chair, you talked about how to proceed earlier, but as Vice Chair, I think that we can take a look at the agenda, and I'm saddened by it. I think that the next meeting ought to focus on the current subject, and the next meetings, until such time as this is solved, is just a motion. If the Rebels decide to filibuster, that's their right to do so. It's in democracy that is done. It's not correct, but it's done. And I would just like to say something, Mr. Sorry, you didn't hear from the veterans? Well, that's not the way veterans do things, to raise their hand and say, no, I don't agree with the monument. You're coming back once again, Mr. Casey, such an intelligent man that you are. Yes, indeed. And you return once again to the survey. I would just like to read you a little sentence or paragraph from it, because the government itself recognized that the survey had no value. You keep saying that it's valuable in 10,000 people and all that, but you don't believe in léger, then demolish that. No problem. I'll read this out. This is a document from directors of Veterans Affairs in an email from November 2021 said the following. Yes, look at me in the eyes, Mr. Casey. The survey did not ask the respondents to rank their choices. according to the interpretation of the question by the respondents, they may or may not have chosen more than one model. As an example, there is no way of knowing which one they preferred or to what degree they preferred one over another. So that's someone from the department, a manager with a high position in the department, who is telling us in black and white. These are documents that we sent for, and you can see how relevant it is to ask for documents in order to be able to have a clear view of that whole process, because it really is not clear. So we have someone from Veterans Affairs who disagrees with the survey that you defend so vehemently. And another question to the minister at the time, is it possible to demonstrate that a single female veteran responded to that survey? And you, of course, you listen to the minister. The minister said, no, I'm not able to confirm that. In fact, there was nothing that showed what was the gender or a number of other aspects. You referred earlier to the fact that people in the national capital asked for. Yes, that's statistically, it doesn't make sense. They don't represent 25% of the population. You talked about French-speaking people at 12% in the survey, the so-called survey. Don't even want to call it a survey. 12% that represent a much higher percent of the population. So it's not relevant what the opposition is asking you say, and the documents that they want. Somewhere along the line, you want to stretch out the work. You don't want to hear in the short term from women or men veterans. That's your choice. Anyway, once again, someone from the department, a high-ranking official, said it didn't make sense. But keep on defending your survey. That's all, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Desilets. And now, Ms. Hefner. Thank you, Chair.
That we should be having at my previous committee on heritage, because it feels like a debate between artist communities and artists rather than really being here about veterans.
Point of order. Mr. Tolmie. Mr. Tolmie, yes, please.
Mr. Chair, the gallery is full of Afghan vets, and not once has my Liberal colleagues here acknowledged them in the room or apologized for filibustering and delaying
No,
this
but
for 2
Mr.
hours.
Tolmie.
It's a point of
I
order.
think
Is
they
that a
should be
point of order?
apologizing
Yes,
and relevance and relevance
listen
to the
you,
motion.
but point of order.
And relevance
There's
to
not
the
a point
motion.
of order. But we are talking around the motion, so let's keep talking around the motion
No, talk
tabled by
about the motion.
Mr. Casey. Please.
Mr. the President, I would like to move that we adjourn debate on this motion so we can get back to talking about the things that veterans really want us to talk about.
OK. Alors, nous allons passer au vote.
All right, so we will vote as to whether we adjourn the debate on this motion. Is that it? Yes, there. So I would ask the clerk to please proceed with the vote to adjourn the debate on this motion of amendment.
En faveur.
Ms. Hefner? Mr. May?
Yes.
Mr. Miao?
In favor.
Mr. Sarai?
In favor.
Mr. Doddle?
Opposed?
Mr. Richards?
Opposed.
Mr. Tolmie? Ms. Morgenthau?
Opposed.
Mr. Desilets?
Contre.
Ms. Blaney?
Opposed.
Yes pour 5.
Please, yeah.
Nays contre 6.
Merci. Donc, Madame.
Thank you, Ms. Hefner. So the motion was defeated. We shall continue the debate. Ms. Wagenthal.
I would make a motion that we vote on the amendment before us on the floor. We've heard from these members multiple times, reading what's already in the record. I think in respect for the veterans that are in this room and watching and are calling for, as they say, action, that they agree and we vote on the amendment.
Thank you. I heard that.
Point of order, I think as long as there's a speaking list, you can't move on to put it to a vote.
Exactly. If we have more members like to talk about the motion, we're gonna discuss it. So, are there any other intervention on the motion table by Mr. Casey regarding Erin O'Toole? No? Okay. So I'm gonna ask the clerk, or maybe I can say, are there any objection to adopt the amendment tabled by Sean Casey inviting Erin O'Toole? Okay, no objection. Perfect. So let's move on. So motion amendment adopted. Great. Yeah. So now go back.
Let's just hope we can get
Mr.
to the vote and have
Kissy.
no more filibustering.
Mr. Casey, yes, we're listening.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je veux,
Thank you,
présenter
Chair. I want to make a few comments on the motion as amended. And Chair, I find it aberrant that the members of the opposition refuse to produce documents that would have enabled us to get correspondence concerning the jury, and that now they want to obtain something specific regarding the jury. I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it seems that my opposition colleagues only want to obtain those documents that they think are aligned with the narrative that they're attempting to construct. They do not want to hear from veterans, nor even the opinions that are in favor of the final choice, that is to say, the design from the Stimson team. And yet, this is a monument which honors veterans, a commemorative national monument of the Canadian mission to Afghanistan will acknowledge the commitment and sacrifice of Canadian men and women who served in Afghanistan, as well as the support that was given them by Canadians back home. The monument will also reflect the profound gratitude of Canada toward the sacrifice given by persons who served in Afghanistan, including those who lost their lives or were injured either physically or psychologically. The monument will serve as a public space to remind us forever of the altruistic service of Canadians to the country, and will honor coming generations and enable them to learn more about this specific moment of the history of our armed forces. We are aware that the jury's decision was not unanimous, in contrast to what my colleague stated in the House. The jury did a remarkable job to select the 5 finalist concepts, and we all agree with that. As project leader in the role of Veterans Affairs Canada is to listen to veterans, and the role of Veterans Affairs Canada is to listen to veterans, and that is what we did. Veterans Affairs Canada received comments from more than 10,000 Canadians regarding the concepts for this monument, and the veterans, their families, and others who participated in that mission are mainly those who commented on those concepts. The concept from the Stimson team most accurately reflects the comments from veterans, their families, as well as other participants in that mission during our public opinion consultation. And it is really essential to listen to veterans and to honor their choice.
As a final comment before I cede the floor, Mr. Chair, I spent 17 years of my professional life practicing law, primarily